get that.
Got it.
Hello.
This lane, this lane, this lane, this lane. I think.
I would like to challenge Matt Bozak.
Scotty Bull.
Jason Belmonte.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Bowling with the Fef, a platform for you to share your unique bowling story live on our YouTube channel. It is Tuesday night, and we have got a whale of a guest for you tonight, a PBA champion, someone who's getting ready for the new PBA Tour in 2024, and someone with a great story to tell, and I can't wait to get into that. Connor Brown joining us live. Hey, Fef. Hey, Connor. Glad to see you here. If you're live like Connor, be sure and utilize that live chat we've got going on. If you're watching on replay, leave a comment. Let us know what you think, and we will certainly get back to you. Glad to have you on tonight. Well, congrats to some Team USA standouts these past few days on their performance at the Pan American Games in Chile over the weekend. AJ Johnson taking gold in singles on Sunday. He qualified with an average north of 245 for that event. Johnson wasn't even supposed to make the trip, but it turns out that Jacob Buttriff had to withdraw due to an injury, so Johnson ended up taking his spot and making the most of it for sure. Brianna Clemmer claiming bronze in women's singles, and then teaming up with Jordan Richard to bring home gold in women's doubles on Thursday. So a great all-around event for Team USA, and congratulations to those folks on their bowling south of the border. I want to tell you about a partnership that I'm involved in. It's a partnership with Bowling with the Fef and IPSIA. IPSIA Hot Topics is on the International Bowling Pro Shop and Instructors Association YouTube channel. Right now, you'll see an intro episode there, and a new episode tomorrow comes out 3 Central, featuring Storm's Peter Somoff. IPSIA Hot Topics has kind of a pro shop and coaching feel to it, but there are topics, hot topics, if you will, that really work for all bowlers, and anybody can become a member of IPSIA. You can find out more information about that at ipsia.com, but the YouTube channel is IPSIA Education 3137. So after you're done watching this, give it a shot. Take a look, watch our premiere, and check out the new episode tomorrow. I think you'll be glad you did. Again, and thank you to IPSIA for that great partnership. You saw Executive Director Terry Howe on our show a while back, and glad to be working with her on what we hope is a very popular show. Well, this month here on Bowling with the Fef is a special one because it is Fef-tacular month. I actually took a question over the week, someone asking, what is the Fef-tacular? Because he thought it was a tournament. It's not really a tournament. It's a tradition we started last year. Basically, the Serbskis Club, which is a league team in Menominee Falls, Wisconsin, said that I needed to come down and sub with them. So I did. It was so much fun. And we decided we were going to do a live stream this year around it. So it'll be Wednesday, November 22nd, 6:30 p.m. Central at Village Bowl in Menominee Falls, Wisconsin, which they refer to as the Country Club of Bowling, where I will join the world-famous Serbskis Club. We bowl against one of their opposing teams in league for just a pile of jars of chip magnet salsa. It's always a good time, always fun stuff. We'll have special guests and all that. A great way to kick off your break for the holiday, the Thanksgiving holiday, if that's what you do. But yeah, we will be live here on the channel with the Fef-tacular number 2. Live on the 22nd. Well, I mentioned it once before, and Chip Magnet is the sponsor of Bowling with the Fef right now. It helps us look the way we do, so make sure that you've got them in your fridge. This is the cilantro lime variety that's on the screen right now. They distribute salsa, relish, and a whole lot more to stores in more than 38 states and Canada. And they also have a great deal for Bowling with the Fef viewers. If you're new to Chip Magnet, go to chipmagnetsalsa.com. If you order $30 or more in product and enter the promo code BWTF2023, You'll get 20% off your order. Limit one order per email address. Chip Magnet, raise your snack standards. And a big thank you to Chip Magnet for all they have done and continue to do for Bowling with the Fef. Well, our guest tonight is the 2023 PBA Shark Champion. It was his first singles title after several years on the PBA Tour, but he hasn't competed in quite as many events as some of the other guys in recent years. Matt Ogle of Louisville, Kentucky, also operates Ogle Lawn and Landscape, and that's kind of the inspiration behind the title to this show, MOWmentum. Matt is joining us from Louisville, Kentucky tonight. And Matt, it is a pleasure to have you here on Bowling with the Fef.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. And let me tell you what, do you have the perfect voice for this podcast? And I do appreciate you getting me on here. And this is going to be a great show. And big thanks to Jim Lucas and the Chip Magnets also.
Yeah, tell me how all that went down, because I got to tell you, one night at League, Jim just comes up to me, and he's a teammate of mine, and he says, Matt Ogle, he's waiting for to hear from you. I told him you'd reach out. I'm like, how are you? What's your deal with Matt Ogle? So how did that all start?
So I actually posted that I was selling jerseys for sale, just to sell some of my jerseys, signature jerseys, and from the tour. And he messaged me and said, "Hey, would you? What do I do to get one?" And so I sent him the link or whatnot, and he ordered one. And he said he's got some salsa that he wanted to send me, so he sent me a little case of salsa, and they were delicious. They were gone in about a week and a half with me and my wife who gobbled it up. But so then I just mentioned to him, I said, would you be interested maybe, being a sponsor on tour? And we're still working out the details. So hopefully we can make that happen and I get his name out on TV.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah,
I'm sure
he's a great guy.
He really is, and loves bowling, which is awesome to see.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of folks chiming in already. Flush in the Pocket podcast, Derek Michaud,
Nice.
saying hi. Nico Puhar saying hi, Fef and Matt.
Hey, what's up?
Wow, Nico's kind of going machine gun style here, but that's okay.
Hey, sometimes I do that with the Beef and Barnsey show, just get a little commentation going on.
Yeah, there you go. So Derek wants to know how you're doing.
Doing pretty good. Thanks for asking.
He's a fellow Brunswick guy, so I'm sure he's excited to hear from you tonight. Connor
Absolutely.
says he's a big fan of yours too. Oh, looks like we lost him. So hopefully, there we go. Let's get him back. Yeah. There you are.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right. Connor says he's a big fan of yours.
Yeah, I seem to have a lot of Connor fans, and it's crazy how many Connors reach out to me. So it's cool. Hey, how you doing, buddy?
Yeah. James St. James. Oh boy.
Band two-handers. He's not a fan. He's not a fan.
I don't know if I can get on board with that, and I'm guessing you can't.
No, absolutely not. But I used to be a one-hander, so I'm not traditionally a true two-hander. So
okay.
I used to bowl one-handed.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
So
all right. So let's get into some stuff here. I noticed on your sweatshirt you've got the eyes on your left side. That kind of comes up. It looks like it's on your jerseys, all that good stuff. I don't know if you remember, but I interviewed you at the Shark Championship during the qualifying. It was between blocks.
Yes, I do.
And this is part of that interview where you're discussing kind of the lane pattern and how that works with your game.
They're a lot tighter than they have been the last few days with the other patterns. But, I'm just seeing it right. The ball rolls right, and the ball's good. So everything's coming together. Hopefully it works another 5 games.
Did you notice that?
What's that?
This thing?
That my eyes were so big?
No, on the left there.
I did see that. Yeah, I saw that when I watched the video. He's hilarious.
You want to crack back on him? You've got the chance.
No, it's okay. He's a good guy. I'm not going to do that. I'll have a chance at another interview.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, no, Kyle Troop, having some fun, but it sounds like this past weekend, you were kind of traveling around in Michigan, if I'm correct there from your social media. What were you doing out there?
Thursday I drove up to Muskegon, Michigan, where Brunswick headquarters is. Friday morning I did a few ball TV shoots, video shoots for the new releases coming out in the next few months. because, tour coming up, we get pretty busy and we don't have time to get up there. But got that taken care of. Went from Muskegon over to the Troy area, and we did a clinic there. Did actually 3 clinics within 3 days. So we did pretty good. Spread some love to the kids, and gave them some pointers, and hopefully get them their average up a few pins.
Yeah. No, that's
pretty
awesome.
busy.
I was going to say those clinics have got to be, that's got to be fun for you to kind of get on a personal level with the people who are your fans out there who maybe can't get to a PBA stat.
Yeah, the rewarding part is when before they even leave the clinic, or even after, a couple of days later, maybe a week, they'll send you a message saying, or they'll tell you at the clinic, I really appreciate what you did for me, helped my game. I ended up bowling, my highest game in the next week and a half after I talked to you. That means a lot. That's why we do it.
Yeah, that's cool to see. Then you've got some events coming up where bowlers can compete with you and learn from you. Tell us about where you're headed next.
Yeah, we're going to Colorado. Ray's Eyewear sponsoring a Pro-Am on Friday, and then we're doing 2 clinics on Saturday and Sunday. But Friday, we're doing a special deal where the top 4 bowlers will join up with the 4 pros that are there, me, EJ Tackett, Daniel McEwen, and Sean Rash. And we're going to bowl Baker style format to see who wins the Ultimate Pro-Am. So it's going to be a fun time.
That sounds great. Yeah.
Brian Whitehouse has with Rays. He's the owner of Rays, and he has a lot of gifts, a lot of donations, a lot of stuff to give out. So hopefully people are getting signed up for that.
Yeah, for sure. You said that's in Colorado Springs?
Yes, sir.
Okay. There you go.
Yeah.
Nice little town there just south of Denver.
Yeah.
The 2024 PBA Tour schedule came out a week ago, and we've sat here and dissected it, all this time. Tell me your initial thoughts. What do you think of how they've laid things
out? Seems like we're going to be doing a lot of traveling.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, to be honest with you, I glanced at it, but I can't do anything about it, so I'm just going to accept it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of traveling going on, a lot of long distance deals. We're finally going back to Vegas after a couple of years. So I'm gonna have 2 flights this year, which is good, and I can draft the rest of them. So I'm not too mad about that, but I'm pretty excited about getting the tour started off, especially after ending last year the way I did.
Yeah. This is going to be an interesting year on tour, mainly because of the new ball rules.
Yeah.
You have to use 78 hardness urethane or urethane-like bowling balls. Do you? I guess, is there any way that you prepare for that now, leading up to it?
No, you can't prepare for anything that goes on tour as far as lane patterns and lane play. The way we play the lanes is totally different than anyone around here locally. We break them down different. We throw different balls. We have more rev rate. We're thinking that with the 78 hardness, they could get harder than they have been. We don't know for sure. Of course, we've never been in a situation. So we'll just see how it goes. And it is what it is. There's nothing we can do about it. So we just got to adapt.
Yeah, for sure. This morning, I received a text message from Mark Wukeman, who is a former guest. He's one of the only folks here in Wisconsin to shoot 900.
Oh, wow.
He wanted to know, he says, is it power over precision to make you a better bowler, or a little bit of both? He says he thinks most of us in today's game think it's power. He thinks that it lowered the skill set of the game a bit, and that he's interested to hear your response on that.
That's a great question. It's kind of loaded, but there's a lot of power on tour. Now, more power makes you to not have to hit the exact same mark every time, such as, a tweener. And I mean, just no disrespect to anyone on tour by saying this, but the more power you have, the better chance you're going to have of striking, and the more area you're going to have as well. Because you got, you'll probably have this much room versus, like a couple inches versus, having more rev rate over a smaller rev rate. So, yeah, I would say that precision is not near as needed as much as power, especially on tour.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an evolving sport, even year over year, really.
Absolutely. Yeah, you see, a lot of the big names on tour in the recent years have been over 400, 450, 500 rev rate. Yeah. And you'll see the same guys pretty much all the time. And most of them have the 550 rev rate. So there's some guys that still squeak in there and make some shows. But they're also the more precise bowlers, and it's probably on the harder patterns.
Yep. Yeah,
So,
for sure. Be
yeah,
interesting to
that's
see
a great
how.
question.
Yeah, be interesting to see how things pan out in the new season for sure. Let's
Yeah.
get into your bowling story kind of from the beginning. Your DV8 bio says that you were just 3 years old when you started bowling. How did that happen for
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
you?
Yeah, so basically, I've been in a bowling alley ever since I was born. My parents grew up bowling, and I grew up with them, obviously bowling. I was ever since I could push a ball down a lane, I was on the bowling lanes. I remember practicing when I was probably 7, 8 years old with my father and his teammates. While they're bowling league or practicing for league, I would jump in there and they let me throw some shots too. And I thought I was, the big daddy in the bowling center, just because I was bowling with the big people. But yeah, I mean, I've been in the bowling center ever since I was born. I'm there still weekly bowling anywhere, anywhere close. I'm always in a bowling center. So, I like to fish as well, but bowling's my passion. So that's what I'm doing.
Yeah. How soon was it before you ended up in something organized, from those beginnings as a youngster? I mean, did you get into a junior program right away?
Oh yeah, I was in the Bantams League, the Preps League, and then anywhere from all the age groups all the way up. I was in a league sometimes 3 or 4 times a week. I remember going to bowl on Saturday mornings. In the youth leagues, I would skip basketball practice just to go bowl. So obviously, I'm not a basketball player. I chose to go bowl, which I probably should have stuck with basketball, but no, it's worked out, and I have no regrets about bowling.
Yeah, for sure. Did you have coaches or mentors?
I've had a lot of coaches over the years. A lot of good friends. Mike Wolf, Roy Kello, Tony Lambert, my father. Anyone that had some that thought I was going to be pretty good had it something to say. Vinny Atri was one of them. You may know him, but they all gave me. I kind of took all the information from everyone and put it all together. And I used to be a one-handed bowler until 2007. I switched over. I had a wrist injury, basically carpal tunnel. They told me they could fuse my wrist and I could just barely move it. I could take pain pills for the rest of my life to be able to bowl, or I could quit bowling. And a local bowler, Tony Lambert, someone I watched grow up, or he watched me grow up really, but I watched him bowl my entire life. And he's two-handed. He was probably one of the first two-handers in the world. And I've pretty much watched that my whole life, and I came along pretty good. So I switched over to two-handed in 2007, and 2017 I went on tour.
Oh, he might be back in here a second. There we go. There you go.
Oh, are you back?
Yep.
That's all right.
That's
okay.
What
happened there? Yeah. Where did I get cut out at?
You said you went on tour in 2017.
Yeah, 2017, and won my first title in 2019 with Sean Rash. And then 2023 this year, I won my first singles title. It seemed just crazy because I was talking to Sean over the weekend at the clinics, and I was like, "Man, do you believe it's been 5 years since we won?" He's like, "No way." I was like, "Yeah, it has."
Yeah.
So
it goes by
crazy.
fast.
It seems like yesterday we just won, but it hasn't been.
Yeah, I'm sure the feeling was so great that it lasted a long time for you.
Oh yeah. So February, January will be 5 years. January 13th will be 5 years. Wow. I'll never forget that week.
I believe it. Yeah. Connor wants to know, what is your favorite bowling ball?
My favorite ball right now is the Troublemaker, not because it's made for two-handers, but I drilled one in league about a month ago, and within 2 weeks I already had 2 300s with it. The first day we had it on tour, that week I finished second in Kokomo using that ball and a purple hammer. So that's pretty much one of my favorite. I could probably take 3 of those to a tournament and do pretty well.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I'm very excited about that ball.
Yeah. Derek harkens back to last year, 2022, actually. Said he had the pleasure of sitting with your father in Portland while you guys were qualifying for the PBA League. Very
cool. Yeah, my father, he goes to every event he can, and he's the reason I'm able to bowl on tour. So I appreciate him being there, and hopefully he was nice to you.
For sure, yeah. Tell me about that support from your dad, especially when we're talking about you kind of making your way through juniors and trying to become really good at this. What was he like as a mentor to you?
He was amazing. He pretty much any ball that I wanted. I would say I was kind of spoiled in a way. I'm an only child, so that's probably normal. But he would get me any ball that I wanted. I would have the 6-ball roller. It was taller than me as a kid. And he would take me to every tournament I wanted to bowl, every junior event, even up to the adults. He was still backing me when I was, 20, 21, 22.
Oh.
And I don't know how many thousands of dollars he spent taking me to Vegas to bowl the high roller and the Brunswick shootout and, the TAT tournament. But it's all paid off. And I think that he accepted that all that money he spent was well worth it. He's excited for me, and he was there to watch me win my first title, and he'll probably be there for every show that I make. So he's a big supporter.
That had to show you that he believed in you, whether he said it or not.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I didn't realize it at the time, but once I started going on tour, I was like, man, all that money that he spent, the time to get me to those areas, to allow me to be present. It kind of hit me all at once. Once I got on tour, I was like, man, he's doing this for me. It has nothing to do with him.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Did you have the opportunity to compete in high school or in college or anything like that?
Yep. So he was actually my father was one of the very first to start high school bowling locally in Louisville.
Okay.
Butler High School was where I went to high school, and he got a program together and basically kicked off high school bowling in Louisville.
Oh.
So he was a big part of that. And once I was out of high school, it was a big program going, and he kind of just pushed it off to somebody else, and they took a hold of it, and it's going strong. So
yeah,
and I'm very fortunate for that. We actually I couldn't tell you if we won a national title or not, or a state championship, because it was so long ago.
Sure.
But I don't think we did. But it was a great team. We were all great friends, and I'll never forget. After a couple of weeks or so, they would announce the sports on the intercom while we were in homeroom or whatever. And they would say, Matt Ogle and Sean Dibbs and, all these bowlers that were bowling, and they were like, bowling. They couldn't figure it out. Why do we have a bowling team? But it ended up working out pretty good. A lot of people were excited for us and come out to watch. So it was cool.
For sure. Did I guess most high schools, you're kind of exposed to the team concept for the first time. How did you respond to that?
It was cool. I've always been, I would say, a singles bowler, because we've never really had much team stuff other than league, trios. Sure. Bowling on a team atmosphere was way different, and I enjoyed it. I didn't enjoy it enough to go to college, though. I went to college for about 6 weeks. That turned into basically a party session for me for a couple of months, but didn't work out. And I came home and started a lawn care business. But, the team atmosphere is great. I love the PBA league. I kind of wish I would have bowled in college now, because I feel like I missed out on a lot, but here I am.
Yeah. Is the lawn care, the landscaping, something you were always interested in?
Yeah, I always wanted to work outside. I didn't want to be tied down to, like a 9 to 5 and sitting in an office. I'm always an outdoors guy. I go hunting, fishing, and being outside is just something I enjoy. So I've had that business for 22 years.
Okay. So.
Yeah, and I basically right out of high school, or I guess 6 weeks out of college, I was starting a lawn care business. So.
Yeah,
it's worked out good.
So you're doing that. You're bowling at the same time. In 2004, you end up winning doubles at the Bowling This Month tournament. Tell me about that. Who was your partner, and how did it work out for you guys?
Jim Dunn was my partner. He's out of Lexington, Kentucky. He actually did a little bit of. He backed me a little bit. We tried some team trial stuff. He was one of the first people to take me to USBC Nationals, which is another cool story. I didn't really know much about brackets. And we get to Nationals, and he's like, I need, or you're in for $4,500 in brackets. And I'm like,
whoa,
I'm in for what? So we're doing a 5-person corp, and my first game was 149.
Oh,
and
no.
I am red. I'm nervous. I'm like, this is awful. I just wasted $4,500. I ended up making like $200 because everyone else bowled so well. But it was that was one of my first experiences of brackets at nationals, and it was overwhelming. But over the couple of years later, we ended up making a lot of money. So, and then we won the doubles, the bowling this month with him, and that was he was one spare away from, I think, making 10,000 that week for the clean 40 or whatever it might be.
Yeah. But that wasn't a deal where it's like once bitten, twice shy. You went right back into it.
Oh yeah.
After that experience.
Yeah, I was not scared about it. But we bought singles and doubles the next day, and I think I did pretty good doing that. But that initial shock of him telling me that you're in for $4,500 was overwhelming. Because I'd never been in that many brackets. I mean, that wasn't me at the time.
Sure.
But now I'm in all I can get in. I think you made me addicted to it.
Did you consistently go to the OCs year after year?
Yeah, I went for probably, I haven't been in probably 4 years, but I went pretty much every year after that. I had various teams. I took a group of 50 one time, and I'll never do that again. That was a nightmare. We had a great time, but just collecting all the money, getting everybody scheduled. I had dropouts. I had people coming in. I envy those people that do that. I mean, I couldn't imagine bringing a whole squad to the Nationals event, but we have a good time doing it, and I'm looking to go back. I think my dad's got one more, and the next one he goes to will be his 25th. So I'm gonna try and get there for him, and we can all celebrate for that. I won't take a bunch of people. I'll take a couple teams, but it'd be a lot easier that way.
Yeah, I bet. 2014, you took top honors at the Bowler's Journal in singles.
That was a wild event too. We actually flew in that day, got everything situated, went straight to the bowling center. I think I was on one of the last squads. I ended on the last pair. And in practice, a friend of mine, Zach Cooley, he was like, "Hey man, why don't you try that diva?" And I was like, "I don't think it's going to work." He's like, "Just move over there to the left and throw it to the right." And I was like, "Oh, this is not what you do at these tournaments." And so I did. Ended up bowling 804. And then the ball is in the trophy case up above me. So with the check, it was like $15,000. I owe him some steak dinner still, I think.
Yeah,
that was very cool. I remember calling my wife, and she's going to hate me for this, but the first thing she says, she goes, "How much are we going to pay in taxes?" Because we were already paying taxes with the lawn care business and all that. But
sure.
That's always a running joke with her and I.
No, legit concern. I mean, once they get the 1099 going your way,
And it was also, I think we got done at 9-10 o'clock, and it was 12 or 1 her time, so it was late. I woke her up.
All right, but for good reason.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kristen Anderson here says, "Hi, Andrew and Matt." And she says, after watching Matt win his first singles title this year, she has a newfound respect for you. She calls you a humble guy.
Thank you. I appreciate you watching, first of all. And, I sometimes do more for everybody else than I do for myself. And that's something that I wanted to win for a long time. I wanted a singles title. That's been a dream of mine since I watched the PBA Tour for the first time. I remember watching Sean Rash bowl, and I was like, man, I could be him. I want to be that person. I want to be on TV. I want to be bowling on TV against those guys. And I don't know. Have you heard the story about how we got teamed up with doubles?
No, that was something I was going to ask you, but okay. I'd be happy to hear it.
All right. So we were at a tournament in Ohio, a Proprietors Cup.
Okay.
And his partner was Simonelli. Simonelli had just left Brunswick. Sean was still with Brunswick. This was 2018, 17 or 18. I think it was one of the first years I went on tour.
Okay.
And we're in the bar having a couple of drinks. I didn't really know him. He didn't know me. Mm-hmm. I think I led the squad for that event, whatever it was, A or B, whatever. But anyway, he's like, well, just lost my doubles partner or whatever, because he was leaving. Ryan was leaving, and I was like, well, hey man, if you need somebody, just let me know. I'll bowl with you. And he's like, all right, what's your number? So I gave him a number, and I was like, man, Sean Rash just took my phone number, and he's thinking about bowling with me. And I was like, there's no way. There's no chance this guy's going to call me. It wasn't a week later. He calls me. He goes, "Hey, was you serious about bowling on tour?" And I'm like, yeah. He goes, "You want to bowl doubles?" I'm like, "Sign us up."
Yeah.
The rest is history. I mean, the first year we missed the cut. The second year, so it'd be 18 we bowled together. It was the first year. The second year we won. And then we made every cut except for one, I think, after that. And then this year we finished second. So it's he's my roommate on tour, and we're basically best friends. So he's pretty much taught me everything I know on tour.
I reached out to him during the week and I asked him about your friendship, and what he said was, there's a lot that goes into having a great relationship. He says communication is the biggest part. Do you think you guys communicate maybe better than the average? The average friends?
I think so. We talk almost every day, whether it's about family life or tour or driving down the road. It could be anything. He's always checking on me, and I'm always checking on him. We have great communication. I think probably one of the best duos on tour, in my opinion.
Yeah. Was that something that you had to kind of grow to that point, or was it a deal where after you guys started hanging out, you just realized, oh, we communicate really well?
I think it just happened. I mean, we don't try to communicate. It just happens. I mean, even like when we're bowling on tour together, whether we're bowling with each other or against each other, whether it's singles or doubles, he's helping me and I'm helping him, pair to pair. It just, I mean, I could look on my phone and he could look on his, and we got a message saying, "Hey, 28's tighter than 29. You might want to move a little bit right or slow your speed down," little stuff like that. Before the block's over, "Hey, you want to go get something to eat?" "Yeah, where are we going to go?" Doesn't matter. It's crazy how it is. It's really crazy. I've never had a brother, so he's kind of like a brother to me.
Yeah, that's cool. When you started out on tour, I mean, it's 2017. You go out there. What's it like for you?
Well, I thought I was the best bowler on the world because locally I was pretty much dominating. And I had just come off of bowling 300 games at the Masters. I believe that was 2016. I led the Masters for 2 days. Thought I was going to be, I was going to make it just as soon as I got on tour. Well, that wasn't the case. I was a nobody. Nobody knew me, which was, respectable. I bowled terrible. I remember sitting in Reno at the bowling stadium. I called my wife after the World Series of Bowling. I think this was 17 or 18. And I said, "This is not for me." I was pretty much in tears. I was like, "I'm miserable. I don't want to be here. I miss you guys. I miss my family." And it was terrible. I didn't like it at all. But that's, fast forward 4 or 5 years, here I am. I mean, it's worked out. I ended up winning the next year or year after it, whatever that was. And that kind of sparked everything off for me and let me know that I could do it.
Yeah.
Making those shots on TV in front of all those people, and then, cashing repeatedly, and then finally winning my first singles title. So I'm glad I didn't quit. She didn't let me quit, though.
Is that what kind of turned the tide that, brought you from being that upset and distraught to a place where, okay, I'm going to get this going come hell or high water?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I wasn't going to give up. And then, when we won in 2019, I wanted more. I wanted to win more. Yeah. And like I said, it went by so fast that I don't feel like those last 4 years. I've learned a lot in those last 4 years. I don't feel like it was 4 years long. I feel like it was 2 years or a year and a half,
Sure.
But I've learned a lot, and I've pushed all that to this past year and put it all together, and it worked out. I've got great ball reps on tour. But I've got a friend of mine, Greg Ostrander, that he's another best friend of mine. Very good friends. He knows my game better than I do, and he can watch me from Bowl TV or Extra Frame, whatever it was back in the day, and he can tell me pretty much where I need to be on the lanes and what ball I need to be throwing, or what I'm doing wrong, what I'm doing right. And he watches the pairs in front of me, and it's crazy how that works out. I've got a lot of support. I'll just say that.
Sure. Derek says it was a complete honor to bowl in front of you in Augusta in September. Did you guys have a clinic out there?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, that was a great time as well. I'm glad he made it, and hopefully I gave you a little bit of information for you to help you.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so there's the part that Rash said about the communication in friendship with you. I've heard him say on an interview that when it came to that doubles title in 19, he said the communication was really the big thing that allowed you guys to perform the way you did and end up winning the whole thing. So
Yeah.
I asked him, I said, okay, was one of you kind of dominant in that communication or not? He said, I wouldn't say anyone dominated the conversation. We helped each other equally. That is what makes a great team. And he mentioned that you made the 4 or 5 shows in 6 years, in 5 or 6 years rather. So I got to ask you, how is it mutual? Because doesn't somebody kind of rise above in that in some way, shape, or form?
Not really. I mean, sometimes you'll have that. But I think with me and him, our scores are so close. You know, like just this past year when we finished second, the first day I bowled really well. I had a 300, 299, a great block. He was probably 150 or so, 200 pins behind me. The next day he catches up to me. I bowled decent, mediocre. He bowls really well. So it's like one of us has it one day, one of us has it the other day. Same deal with when we won the doubles in 2019. I had it the first day, maybe the first day, and the second day I was kind of falling off. I was in the cut for the singles part because it was singles and doubles all at the same time. I was in the cut for the singles. I fell out for the doubles, but he bowled so well, and he made that show for the singles that it was able to get us into the cut, to keep us in the cut for the doubles. And that's what it takes. And then in the Bakers, it was just, I mean, we were lights out. It was crazy.
Were you playing the same part of the lane? Were you making moves off each other?
We were. I wouldn't say we were playing the same part of the lane. It was close, but we were throwing the same ball the whole week, pretty much. And that helps a lot too. You know, we may have 2 or 3 of them with different surfaces, but it's just that communication is what he's saying is pretty much what gets us to the TV shows every time.
Yeah. You win that doubles title, and that's kind of the coming out party. A lot of us hadn't seen you bowl before because this is your first show. Now you've been on TV. If I'm not mistaken, you ran the ladder. It was a terrific performance. What's it like to be Matt Ogle after that?
Well, it's crazy. I got so many texts that week from people that I never thought I would get texts from. Sean told me, he's like, don't even check your phone. When we got done, he said, before we even started, he said, no matter what happens, don't check your phone until you get home.
Okay.
And I was like, okay. He's like, you're going to have 1,000 messages. And I was like, there's no way. These people, they don't want me here because I'm taking checks from them. You know, nobody knows who I am. And I'm like, whatever. So we ended up running the ladder. And it was an hour or so later after we signed autographs, took pictures. I looked at my phone and I probably had 300 text messages and no telling how many Facebook messages. And I was like, well, you were right. He's like, don't even look at them. He said, look at them in a couple of days, enjoy the moment. And that's kind of what I did. I answered a few of them, but I remember one, Wes Malott texted me, and I've always looked up to him, and we're pretty good friends now, but he sent me a text, and it was pretty cool.
Yeah. What did he say?
I can't. I'm not going to say what it said, but it was not what I expected him to say. You know, I kind of thought that he thought I was there just another dumb two-hander that was out there bowling, trying to take his checks because, you know, that's what he did for a living. And I've got a lawn care business, and, you know, that's kind of my deal was that was my income. And then now I'm out here winning on tour as a hobby. Sure. So, you know, a lot of guys didn't really like that. So for him to text me, that was pretty cool.
Yeah. You were well known as being that part-time player who had that other gig. Yeah. Did you end up moving into a full-time deal?
Not till last year. Not this year. I actually bowled every event last year except for 2 or 3, I think.
Okay.
And that's kind of a full tour for me, in my opinion. But
Sure.
some will say it was 3/4. But this year I skipped one event. I ended up 5th in the points, and that it's a lot. I mean, it's a lot to bowl on tour every week, or every other week, whatever it was, But it's being away from my family, and it's I couldn't imagine all the other guys how they do it, especially Sean. He's got 3 kids and an awesome wife and a great family, and he's gone a lot with a lot of clinics, a lot of overseas deals, and along with the tour. So it's tough.
Yeah. Clint Harris says that his son met you Sunday at the Pro-Am at the Thunder Bowl.
Cool. Yeah, the Thunder Bowl is a great place.
Yeah.
That was one of the funnest clinics, Pro-Ams that I've done in a while. Not that the other ones sucked by any means, but Thunder Bowl has a special place for everybody's heart that bowls on tour. And it's we were in the arena, and it's an awesome place.
Okay. He says, let him throw the troublemaker.
Oh, I did. Yeah. Cool.
That's the
ball.
ball.
I remember him. Yeah. He threw it the first shot. He was using lifts. If I got the right guy, he was using lifts as a 2-hander, and I told him he probably didn't really need them.
Okay.
And then he ended up throwing a couple strikes with my troublemaker, and I let him use it for the Pro-Am. I don't know how much he used it, but I think he might be switching to ovals. So.
Okay. There you go.
Yep.
And here's Derek, fronting my money, I guess. Pfeff will give you a $10,000 in cash right now if you tell us.
No.
Derek, I don't have that kind of cash to throw around, as much as I'd love for him to tell me. But yeah, I don't think I can make that bet. But Clint says, he says,
yeah, cool, yeah. Hopefully he goes back to or goes to the ovals. I think he'll be a lot better off that way.
Cool. All right.
Yeah, see, those messages are the ones that I like after doing clinics.
Yeah.
I like to hear from people.
Sure. Yeah.
Yep.
You mentioned the part about, it being tough to be on the road. Most of us will never experience that. I mean, if we're lucky, we get to, hang out for a weekend and see you guys, and then we're back to our lives. When the weeks drag on and you start thinking about, what it's like to be back home and what your family's up to, and the calls aren't doing it. What does that feel like for pros out there?
Well, fortunately, I had a good year. I didn't really have many bad weeks, but the bad weeks are really bad. If you missed the cut, you bowl 2 days, you're still there. If you're going to another stop right after that, and you can't travel home. If it's like 7-8 hours away, you're not going to drive home.
Sure.
Or fly, whatever it might be. But when you miss that cut, you think. Well, I'm like, what am I doing here? I'm missing a week from my family. I've got stuff I could be doing at home. My wife's taking care of my son. She's taking him to school, picking him up, helping him with homework, cooking breakfast, cooking dinner. And it makes you realize how important that your wife or your husband is. And missing kids and family it's hard for me. I'm not going to lie. It's tough. It's really bad for the bad weeks.
Sure.
But when you're having good weeks, it's not okay, but it's better.
It's better.
It means that you're doing well. You're helping the family. But when you're bad, it's bad. It's bad. I mean, I've had weeks where I'm like, I don't even want to do this anymore. This a couple of years ago, I was like, this is I'm over it.
Yeah.
This is bad. And I didn't really have a bad year. I bowled okay 2 years ago, and it's just crazy how it works out.
Yeah.
Nope.
So let's move on to one of the good weeks then. This is from the Shark Championship this last season. Sean told me that it was awesome to see you win your first singles event. He said dreams come true for those who work hard for something normally. Take us back. What was it like to win that event that was kind of mashed into a bunch of events with the World Series?
I've never been a good World Series participant. I didn't make many cashes. 1 year I made the match play for the Chameleon, I think. But this week we bowled Cheetah, Chameleon, and then Shark. Or Chameleon, what's that? Chameleon, yeah, Cheetah, Chameleon, and then Shark. And we had bowled 40 games before this qualifying. And the very last shot of Chameleon, I had something pop in my shoulder, and I was like, I can't bowl tomorrow. Sean's like, what's wrong? Well, being Sean, he gets me this big bag of ice, comes over, plops it down on my shoulder, and he's like, "Put that on there for the rest of the night." I'm like, "Okay," and it hurt. Like, I don't know what it was, but it was crazy, and it hurt. And I put the ice on it. We did some work. He's got this this gun that vibrates, and we worked on it for, I don't know, 30, 40 minutes, and I got up the next morning and I was like, "Man, it feels pretty good. Appreciate you help take care of me, whatever." And it feels all right. He's like, "You be able to bowl?" I said, "Yeah, I think so." So I'm not a guy that gets there early. Okay. So I'm just, he's got a separate car. I've got a car, and I'm just kind of dragging along. I'm like, I'm tired. I'm 40 games. I'm not in the cut of the world championships. I'm miserable. I'm tired, wore out. I get there within 30 minutes to bowl, about 20 minutes. I'm like, I don't have my jersey. And Sean's like, "You don't have a jersey?" And I'm like, "Nope, I forgot to put it on. I put my T-shirt on underneath, and then I put my pullover on. I didn't have a jersey." I hauled back to the hotel, got my jersey. I got there. He had already took my balls to the lanes. And
Wow.
I practiced. The practice was probably already been on for a minute and a half, 2 minutes. I got my shoes on real quick, started practicing, bowled 300 the first game. He's like, "Oh, your shoulder really hurts, doesn't it?" And I'm like, "Man, I'm not making that up. It was hurting last night." And then he's like, "Did you really mean to forget your shirt, or did you just want to not bowl today?" And I was like, "Well, I forgot it.
Yeah.
It's not me. I don't forget stuff like that, but I did." And then I bowled 300, and Anthony Simonson was like, "Maybe you should forget your shirt more often." So
Yeah.
that was crazy. A crazy start to the Shark.
Yeah. And you weren't you the number 1 seed? I think you were.
I was, yep.
You were.
I was.
So
I was actually down to the last game with me and Packy Hanrahan. He had to bowl, I think, 260, 268, I think, to take over the top spot. And I think it was 5 frames in. My buddy Greg Ostrander texted me because he's watching the scores, and he's like, "You're good to go, man." And I kind of broke down a little bit, being the number 1 seed against all those pros at the World Series. There's 120 bowlers.
Yeah.
And I ended up bowling 220, I think, that game, and to solidify the number 1 seed. But it was crazy. That was I was probably more emotional at the TLC when I finished or qualified 4th. I don't know why, but that's one tournament that kind of gets to you a little bit. There's so many great bowlers that's been through that building, Riviera Lanes, and to be one of those bowlers that made the TV show on 27 and 28, that's awesome. But the Shark Championship was pretty cool. I mean, I've never led a tournament to be the number 1 seed in a PBA event, and that was wild.
Yeah. And your first singles championship, you're there with the trophy.
Yeah.
What's that like? I mean, you're a PBA champion coming into this because you have the doubles title, but what's the difference between winning that doubles title with Rash and doing this on your own?
Well, the difference is everyone says that you have a half title because you won a doubles title, and then now I have a full title, so I have 1.5 titles. That's how Sean introduces me at the clinics. The guy with 1.5 titles to my right is Matt Ogle. But no, it's surreal. I mean, like I said, that was a dream come true, and to be able to hold that trophy, knowing that I did it all by myself, physically. Mentally, I had everybody helping me. I had, Greg Ostrander, but everybody was texting me, Sean, but to be able to hold that trophy, knowing that I accomplished a goal that I wanted to accomplish for 20 years, I'm still speechless about it. It's crazy, man. It's to be able, I mean, I've got the trophy back here, but I'll never, So at the lake, there's a joke that we're going to drink a beer out of it. Everybody's going to pass around and drink a beer out of it because it's
like
so
the
big.
Stanley Cup.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't think we're going to do that, but I mean, it's that was wild. That was a great week. As far as I want to say that was a great tournament. I wouldn't say it was a great week.
Sure.
The Shark Championship was a great tournament.
Yeah. Okay. So I reached out to Michael. And this was kind of a surprise to me. So let me get through this because there's a lot here.
This could get emotional.
So I asked him via message about the evolution of your game. and why you were able to have the success that you had this last season. And what he told me is, I doubt I'm the right guy. He said the evolution of two-handed and not changing the patterns has created an undeniable advantage. He said that you've taken advantage of that, of your rev rate and the ability to get a little deeper than the rest of the field. He says that you still struggle to throw it slow enough and creating more angle like Belmo and even Prather can. He says he doesn't want to sound bitter because it's admirable to watch, but he says he just doesn't think they've made anyone really bowl in a long time. He said that he thinks you're improving in a lot of aspects, but that your spare shooting is subpar compared to the top guys. So I'm sitting here thinking, okay, A, how are you going to react to this? But B, Mike's a Brunswick guy. Is he trying to kind of fuel your tank with this?
No, he's 100% right. Not sure. The patterns haven't changed in 5-10 years. The same guys keep making the shows over and over. You don't see guys with lower rev rates making those. This goes back to the precision over power deal.
Okay.
Or power over precision, that we had a question in the beginning. But he's completely right. I am absolutely taking advantage of the situation right now. I'm not going to hit a dime on the lanes. And there's places that I could improve. He's not wrong. But when I can strike, I'm going to strike a lot. So my spare shooting, I could agree with that. It could get better.
So,
but I also switched from one-handed to two-handed spare shooting to kind of keep my timing in line.
Yeah.
And I think that's helped me quite a bit because I would always try to throw it 150 at, whatever spare was out there, and it's not necessary.
Sure.
So, but I've missed a lot of spares in the last year. I could work on that for sure. I'm kind of glad he said that, really.
He brought up the two-handed to one-handed to two-handed transition on spares. When I asked him, I said, okay, is there anything he can do then to make that better, to make those spares? He said, I'm not sure on Matt. He mentioned that you used to use your thumb, but he says you tried to overthrow it so much that it wasn't good that way either. He said you took your thumb out on spares recently, more comfortable with that, he assumes. He says practice is the only way to get better. He said he honestly thinks you don't work very hard. Hasn't really had to, not all his fault. He says the schedule tells you when to be ready and bowl your best. He said your long service takes some time away, he's sure, but he says you're not as dedicated as the top guys are. Yeah,
and to be honest, I mean, this is going to sound bad. I probably shouldn't say that. I really don't have to be, I guess. I've got something to fall back on. My wife's got a great job. I've got a lawn care business. I've got guys that take care of it when I'm gone. I want to win just as much as the other guys, but I don't put in as much work. I will say that. If I've got a chance to go to the lake, I'm going to go to the lake and have fun with my family. I should probably bowl every day for probably 2 hours for the next month and a half to get ready for tour. I'm just not going to do it. That's just not me. I mean, there's a lot of guys, not just me. There's a lot of guys that don't put in as much time as those top 2 or 3 guys. And I don't think they put in as much time as he thinks they do either, but we don't know. We'll never know.
Yeah. So that kind of leads me to the question then, how do you prepare for tour? Because this is a unique thing with major right off the bat, right?
Yeah. Last year, we started out with the U.S. Open, major.
Yeah.
I finished 20th or 15th. Because 2 years in a row, I've made the top 24. And that was without practice. It wasn't 100% practice for the last month and a half before the tour started. And that to me is like, I could be better, but I made the cut. I made cash. I did well in the U.S. Open. That's kind of giving me a little fire to go practice now. I mean, maybe that's what he was trying to do, like you said.
Yeah.
But I don't put in as much time as those guys probably. Like he said, he's right. I just don't have the motivation, to be honest.
Okay.
It's hard for me to go practice because I just don't get anything out of it at the moment. Does that make sense?
I think so. Is it the conditions? Because it's not.
No, not so much the conditions. It's just like it's just like, what am I bowling for? Like,
Sure.
I think if I bowled a lot and I had more success than I did this year, I would probably practice a lot more. But I'm also almost 40 years old. So I'm probably, other than Belmo, I'm 10 to 15 years older than most of those guys on tour.
Yeah.
I'm going this way. They're going this way. So it's like, I'm going to enjoy it and bowl well at the same time. It's not going to be life or death for me.
Sure.
It's not going to make or break me. I'll just enjoy it, and it is what it is.
Yeah. So is 2024 a full-time tour year for you, or is it part-time?
Yeah, no, this will be a full-time year again. Like I said, I missed one tournament last year. I'll be at all of them this year, God willing, and I'm healthy, and my family's healthy. I'm not going to bowl a tournament while my family's sick or somebody's in the hospital or whatever it may be. That's kind of where I think I draw the line, is if somebody's not feeling well at home, or something's wrong or whatever, I'm coming home.
Yeah. Yeah.
So and last year at the World Series, Sunday of practice, my son was playing in a tree. We've got a pond out back, and whatever, kids in the neighborhood were all playing, and he jumps out of a tree and a stick went in his leg.
Oh.
So Stacy, he comes running up to the house. He broke part of the stick off, I guess, or it broke off in his leg, and he threw it down or whatever, and there's a big old gouge in his leg and a big bump. And I'm like, well, she calls me. She goes, I got to take Gavin to the hospital. This was like, I don't know, 10:30 at night.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, he's at the hospital. We've been here for a minute. And so they're going to try and dig this stick out. And the whole time I'm thinking, he's going to get an infection. He's going to lose his leg. And I'm thinking the absolute worst. So I'm 6.5 hours away. So they numb it, try to get it out. They can't get it out because it's in pieces. So like, we're going to have to wait for the surgeon tomorrow, the doctor. And so again, I'm thinking, infection. They're like, we're going to give him all these antibiotics and this and that. He'll be fine. And I got probably less than 2 hours of sleep that night because I was just worried sick. I wasn't there. I couldn't take care of him.
Yeah.
But it ended up the next day, they got it all out. He was fine. Everything was good. But that was emotional for me that morning.
Sure.
Just because I wasn't there. I was bowling, like, again, as a hobby. I didn't have to be there. I could have been home with him, taking care of him, but she said everything was fine. And so, she took care of it. But I mean, that kind of goes to where, if something's wrong here, if he would have been in the hospital the next couple of days, I was coming home. I'd already told Sean, I was like, I'm leaving. I told him that Sunday night, I was like, I'm going home. He's like, no, everything will be fine. I'm like, no, if something's going bad, I'm going to be home.
Sure.
So I'm not worried about this tour.
Yeah.
I'm more worried about my family. And Brunswick knows that. I've told them from the beginning, I said, family over bowling every day of the week. So,
yeah, I think you're making the right choice there.
Yeah.
All right. So I got to catch up on these comments. So, the bowling bro is back. He's a guy who was on with Randy Brown from Kansas, I'm guessing.
Okay.
Kristen says, PBA Commissioner Tom Clark would say you have 2 titles. He said the same thing to Kyle Sherman.
Yeah. I mean, it all depends on who it is, I guess. More of my friends bust my butt than anything. So,
yeah.
Even my people back home locally. Like tomorrow league, I'm sure I could ask somebody and they say, no, you got 1.5.
So long time no see, wants to know how many 300s have you bowled?
Oh my gosh, I have no idea. I get that question asked quite a bit. I would say it's over 200.
Okay.
I don't keep track. I don't count them. I haven't counted them. I quit counting, I think, when I was 17 or 18, 19. I'm not trying to be arrogant by any means.
Hey,
I just don't count them.
Sure.
I don't count 800s. Just
Okay.
They happen. I'm grateful. I'm grateful I get the ball. So
yeah, I'm pretty sure you've got a story on this one though. He says, and how old were you when you bowled your first 300?
Yeah, but I do have a story for that. It was 2000, so I was 16. That was one of the years when I walked in with a 4-ball double stacker, roller bag that was probably taller than me at the time. I was filling out my award form. I bowled 300, and it was a black thunderstorm, if I remember correctly. I think my dad still has it at his house, but I remember getting on the approach. I was one-handed, and I remember my legs shaking and my hands were shaking. I was like, what am I supposed to do? I've never been in this situation. I had a front 11, ended up throwing a strike, come back. Miss Nelly, I think, was the one that gave me the award form. and she hands me the award form, and I'll go to fill it out. And I remember looking up to a buddy of mine, I think it was Aaron, and I said, "What country are we in?" And he's like, "What country are we in? Are you serious?" So I was so nervous. I don't even remember filling that sheet out the next day because it happened so fast. I think that was a double shift league too, that we had so many youth bowlers. We had to run 2 shifts.
Okay.
But that was awesome. Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah.
So 16.
Wow. All right. Jay says, "Hi, Pfeff, and congrats to you for doing it your way."
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Bowling Bro says, "Ow, that sounds like it hurts." I'm guessing he's talking about your son.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, he was a little upset about it, but he got over it. Now he's got a little scar, and I'm like, we could probably get that, taken care of. He's like, "No, I want to leave it. I show all my friends." I'm like, okay. He's showing that to the girls is what he's doing.
Yep.
Oh, so another story about it. So they gave him the little piece of the stick that was in his leg in a cup.
Okay.
Well, as soon as he gets back from the hospital, it was Monday afternoon. All the kids got home from school, and they come straight over, and he's showing them all. My wife took pictures. She's like, "Oh, he's out there showing him his leg and trying to take the bandage off." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, He's totally me."
Yeah. Kristen says that's a relief. Sounds like it was painful, but glad he was okay.
Yeah, he's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. Good to hear.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. So I told you before we went on, we do a thing called Off the Sheet, and that's where we ask you to challenge somebody else. Doesn't have to be the greatest bowler in the world, certainly can, to be on a future show. We ask that people are passionate about the sport and have a unique story to tell, which we all do. So, Matt Ogle, who would you like to see on a future episode of Bowling with the Pfeff?
So I think I have 2.
Okay.
One of them is going to be Norm Duke. Obviously, he's a Dallas Striker manager. He selected me for the Dallas Strikers, and Norm's a great guy. The second one's going to be Jason Couch.
Okay.
Mr. Three-Peat for the TOC. So I think he's got some great stories to tell.
Yeah, those are 2 great ideas, and having going off the sheet with a double is always welcome, right?
Yeah.
So Norm, Jason, if you're watching, you can find me on Facebook. My name is Andrew Pfeffer, or you can email me. bowlingwiththepfeff@yahoo.com is the address. We would love to have you on. Our next show is coming up next Wednesday night, November 15th. We've got Joe Engelkis coming on. He is the tournament administrator of the Greater Iowa Bowling Association events. You may be familiar with the holiday doubles and tournaments like that. Joe is kind of the brains behind that, and he's got a big story to tell as far as his competitive nature in the sport as well. So we'll have him on next Wednesday, 7:00 Central. But Matt, it has been a pleasure getting to know you and your bowling story. And of course, congratulations on the wins and best of luck on the 2024 tour.
Yeah, thanks so much. I appreciate you having me on, and hopefully me and Mr. Jim with Chip Bagnet Salsa can get something worked out, and I'll get his name on national TV.
There you go.
But you have a great podcast, and I'll be listening to some more of these now.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And as always, I appreciate all of you out there viewing. Thanks so much for tuning in, either live or on replay. Have a great week, and we'll